In the book of Hebrews, chapter 12, verse 1, it says that therefore we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses. Let us throw off everything that hinders and that sins us, and let us run with perseverance the race that has been marked before us. We are here today on a special day called Witness Wednesday, in the middle of our Moral Monday campaigns. The Holy Scriptures declare that when we stand for righteousness, amen, when we heed the call to do what is right, we are surrounded by a great cloud of witnesses of those who died or suffered and died, who have gone on but now sit in glory, but they cheer us on. Like those who are in the great Coliseum watching the marathon runners. Today marks the 50th anniversary of the tragic assassination of Medgar Evers. He died in the early mornings, just after midnight, because America was in the midnight of denial and segregation and racism. Medgar was a part of the NAACP and many others, and the Mississippi NAACP. And 50 years ago, they were fighting for voting rights. Medgar was a veteran. Medgar was a father. Medgar was an athlete. Medgar was brilliant. Medgar had a conscience. Medgar had a heart. He was shot down at night by a coward. That's right. In front of his house, in front of his wife, in front of his children. But his spirit still lives on. Just like the spirits of so many others whom we honor, not just Medgar, but others who were killed or who died in service, black, white, Latino, young, old, rich and poor, rural and urban, who gave their lives, sometimes through assassination and death, and sometimes they just worked until their life was over. At the end of the day, my brothers and sisters, it is the great witness of those who died before us and who fought before us that is the ultimate critique on the immoral and extreme legislation coming out of this General Assembly and out of the governor's office. That's right. Their witness, their lives, the Bible says in Genesis, the blood speaks from the ground. The blood of Medgar says these policies are wrong. The blood of Martin says these policies are wrong. The blood of Latino warriors and the blood of Viola LaRussa, a white lady who was killed from the Selma to Montgomery March, says that when you attack poor people and you attack voting rights and you attack the most vulnerable, that's wrong. Their blood speaks. Preach, preach. We decided in the middle of this moral campaign we could not pass June 12th, the death of Medgar, without honoring the death of so many that fought to get us where we are. And so they may have died and been buried, but we come here today to say we are the resurrection.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So much of what is coming out of this legislature violates the very constitutional and moral principles that so many sacrificed their lives for. And we come to bear witness to their memory and to declare in their memory that we will not go backwards and we will keep up the fight for justice and equality.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Some ask the question when they see the NAACP or in an event, and now somebody has that NAACP round piece. Where is it? That's good. I want to put it up here because sometimes, and my good friends in the media, I want to do just a little bit of teaching, because when you see, sometimes they see NAACP, they say, oh, what they're concerned about is just voting rights, or what they're concerned about is just when somebody uses the N-word. But the reality is the NAACP in its founding look much like the crowd you've been seeing at Moral Monday.
That's right.
It's never been an all-black organization. It's a justice organization. It's always had an agenda of at least 8 points.
Yes, sir.
Always. And so why are we so concerned about people's unemployment insurance being taken? Because unemployment and access to it by black and brown people is an outgrowth of the civil rights movement.
That's right. Teach.
It was secured by many of the people whose pictures you see who died. What do you mean by that? In 1935, when the Social Security Act was passed, the only way President Roosevelt could get it to pass was he had to compromise with white senators in the South who said if you pass it, you've got to make sure that black and brown people can't access it.
Lord have mercy.
So what they did was they ensured that if you worked on the farm or if you were domestic, you couldn't pay into the system.
That's up.
Which means that when it was passed, over 80% of black people couldn't access Social Security or unemployment insurance. And 50% of women weren't even covered. And the law wasn't changed until 1954, 19 years after the passage of the act in 1935. And if you know anything about 1954, that's Brown versus Board of Education. That's the beginning of the modern civil rights. And that's why the NAACP originally opposed the Social Security Act, not because they opposed Social Security Act and unemployment, but they opposed paying taxes and then not being able to benefit from the system.
That's right.
And the reality is things like unemployment and Medicaid didn't become bad, according to our conservative friends and extreme friends. You know, they call it entitlements and bad. Well, it wasn't bad in the 1940s, wasn't bad in the 50s. It only became bad when black and brown people began to have access to it. Colored people of all.
Preach, brother, preach.
And so unemployment is a civil rights issue. Medicaid is a civil rights issue. Medicaid was an outgrowth of the civil rights movement. And it wasn't created by the Social Security Administration until 1965.
Go ahead.
Title 19 of the added to the Social Security Act. And Medicaid was created to help poor children and poor people and the blind and those who are vulnerable in our society. So Medicaid is a civil rights issue.
That's right.
But it's not just an issue for black people, it's an issue for all people.
That's right.
Can I teach for a moment?
Please teach. Please.
Education. Where's my picture?
Give sight to the blind.
Somebody help me here. Where's my picture? Because I brought a picture. Somebody find my picture. I hope you brought it now. Huh? Where is it? The frame picture. Go ahead. Got to go get my daddy's picture. I can't go in because my father died in the movement.
Go ahead.
When we talk about education, Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of '64 protects people from discrimination on the basis of race, color, national origin. And listen what it says. It says no person in the United States on the ground of race, color, national origin can be excluded from participation in or denied the benefits of or subjected to discrimination under any program or activity receiving federal financial assistance.
That's right.
So if public schools get financial assistance from the federal government, then you can't take that money and create new forms of resegregation in the 21st century. Somebody talk back to me. It may be a civil rights issue, but that doesn't just mean it's a black issue. Look at what it says. It says in the Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of '64, it says that if you get federal funds, you must operate the systems in a non-discriminatory manner. You can't take the money and cipher it over to a private school. You can't take the money and cipher it over to a charter school and then allow that charter school to be a resegregated school. That's not bad for black people, that's bad for all people. Bad for public. And the law says, somebody say the law. The law, not just people spouting off some cute talking points from their consultants, but the law.
That's right.
We know the law.
We know the law.
The law says that you cannot operate in a discriminatory manner in admissions, recruitment, financial aid, academic programs, student treatment and services, counseling, guidance, discipline, classroom assignment, grading, vocational education, recreation, physical education, athletic, housing, and in employment.
All right, go ahead.
And if you do anything that's discriminatory in any facility that receives federal money, that's illegal. That's what Medgar was fighting for.
That's right.
That's what the civil rights leaders were fighting for, white and black. That America be true and North Carolina be true to what it says in the law.
That's right.
And in the Constitution. But you know, you got some people in here that they think the federal Constitution is an outsider. They think a state ought to be able to do what it wants to do.
That's right. That's right.
But then they run into our own Constitution. See, they haven't read either Constitution.
That's right.
Even in the state Constitution, you want to argue states' right? Come on, Mr. Conservative. Let's have a debate, Mr. Tillers. Come on, you want to talk about it? I'll get 2 or 3 people, you get your 2. Come on, Mr. Governor. Come on, Bob Hall and I. Come on. We'll debate you. Because the law was written, 1868, by blacks and whites. And in the law, the Constitution of this state, the great moral principle is this. We've all been endowed by a Creator with certain inalienable rights, among which are life, liberty, the enjoyment of the fruit of your own labor, and the pursuit of happiness. That's the law. That's the moral principle.
Yes, sir.
And then the other part of that moral principle is that all political power must be used only for the good of the whole.
That's right.
And then you read down a little bit further, it guarantees public education as a constitutional right. It guarantees equal protection as a constitutional right. So wherever you look in the law, federally or in the state, when you deny and discriminate and hurt people and use public policy to create stratification in the way in which services are rendered, it is wrong, it is immoral, it is illegal, and we will not stand for it. So on this date, 50 years ago, Medgar was killed. 50 years ago.
Yes, sir.
Fighting for voting rights. And at least 7 people are going to go in today and exercise their constitutional rights, and they said if people choose to arrest them, they're going to do it. But why 7? Because between July 12th and September, you know, 4 little girls were killed in September. Somebody got their picture? There they are. Medgar was killed, and it wouldn't be but 5 years after Martin stood 2 days before I was born at the Washington Monument that he would be killed. And John F. Kennedy, who spoke the day Medgar was killed.
That's right.
Medgar was killed the night that John F. Kennedy had gone on national TV and declared that civil rights was a moral issue.
That's right. It is.
So we got 7 people going in representing those 7 persons that were tragically killed. And the 7 represents perfection. So not only are they representing Medgar and Martin and those 4 little girls and John F. Kennedy. And by the way, this ain't about Democrat, Republican, it's about what he stood for. Because on that night, he didn't say civil rights was a moral issue for Democrats. He didn't say civil rights was a moral issue for Republicans. He said it was a moral issue for America. And so they will go in, the 7 of them, but also representing all of the martyrs. And all of the people who have died. You know, finally, as we stand here today, isn't it amazing that 50 years ago they were fighting, you know, in Jackson, Mississippi, 50 years ago, Medgar was fighting for voting rights. 50 years later, we're fighting to hold on. 50 years ago, the March on Washington was labor and civil rights together. The March on Washington was not about singing Kumbaya.
Go ahead.
The dream that Dr. King announced was because of the nightmare that existed in the country. And the nightmare was the unequal protection when it came to laws and jobs. Actually, the title of the march was a march for jobs and freedom. Touch your neighbor and say, I wish somebody would learn something in this General Assembly.
Please give sight to the blind.
And so, when this legislature, I want to say it as clear, I want to say it, my daddy looking at me. That's my father. He helped integrate the schools down in Washington County. Everybody think my mama's 80 years old and she's still at the school. Where once she was called the N-word, but now the children of the people that once called her the N-word call her mama.
All right. That's right.
So we say this to the legislature and the governor. When the legislature and the governor attempts to trample on so many rights and laws and social safety nets that have helped so many and has cost so much in blood, sweat, and tears, they need to be reminded that when they do that in this house, they are literally desecrating the grave and the memories of great America, white and black and Latino, male and female, and even children who gave their lives to make this country better.
Teach, Bob. Teach.
Every piece of legislation they are trying to, they've either passed or they're trying to pass that is regressive, was written in blood. Was written in blood. And now this group wants to undo it. That is disrespectful and a desecration. And that's why we're agitated. That's why we will not stand. But not only must we remember what they did back then, the best form of flattery is imitation.
That's right.
And that's why today the 100 branches of the NAACP and our 147 partners, along with Labor, and Ms. Mary B will talk about that, are announcing that from June the 12th to August 28th, we're announcing Freedom Forward Together Movement Summer Voter Registration Campaign.
Yeah, that's all right.
In the memory of those who died. And because we are surrounded by a great cloud of witnesses. And we don't know anything to do but honor those that honored us by sacrificing that we might be here and have what we have today. So we're going to go back to Randolph County and back to Hickory and back to Goldsboro and back to Fayetteville and back to Cumberland and back to Martin County and back to Washington County. We're going back and we're going to register everybody we know. And we're going to take these report cards and tell on everybody up here. And we're going to tell folk back home what we know. And if they think that 70% of the turnout in the black community and 68% was something in 2012, just wait till 2014. We intend to have a turnout in 2014 like no other mid-year election that this state has ever seen. Somebody say forward together. Not one step back.